In 2026, a 29-year-old software analyst in Denver buys a duplex with the same dream millions of Americans were sold for years: live in one side, rent the other, and let the tenant cover the mortgage. It was the perfect modern wealth hack. Social media made it look simple: buy young, house hack, live cheap, build equity, repeat. But 12 months later, he is sitting in his car outside the property doing math on his phone, realizing the dream he thought would buy freedom has become a second job, draining his time, money, and sanity. The tenant paid late twice, insurance went up, property taxes jumped, the water heater died. One unit sat vacant for 6 weeks. The numbers still technically worked on paper, but real life had already broken the fantasy. This is the story more Americans are quietly living in 2026. House hacking is not dead because owning property stopped building wealth. It is dead because the version most people were sold no longer matches economic reality. For a decade, house hacking worked because rates were low, prices were lower, and the gap between mortgage costs and rental income was wide enough to absorb mistakes. That gap is gone. In much of America, the classic house hack now depends on perfect tenants, stable repairs, low vacancies, and unrealistic optimism just to break even. And that is why the strategy is collapsing for ordinary people. House hacking was never just about real estate, it was about financial psychology. It gave young Americans a way to feel like they were beating the system. Instead of paying rent, they were building equity. Instead of buying a home, they were buying leverage. But in 2026, the emotional promise still sells, while the math quietly fails. That is what makes it dangerous. People are not buying a property anymore. They are buying a spreadsheet fantasy built on assumptions from a market that no longer exists. And before we break down exactly why this strategy is failing, hit like, subscribe to DollarNeck, because this channel is about exposing the financial advice that sounds smart online but breaks down in real life. House hacking is not dead because real estate stopped working. It is dead because the easy version was built for a different America, and most people are still trying to use outdated rules in a much harsher market now.
The reason house hacking is breaking in 2026 comes down to one brutal truth: the margin is gone. For years, the strategy worked because small mistakes were survivable. A higher repair bill, one late tenant, a month of vacancy. None of it destroyed the deal because mortgage costs were low enough and rent spreads were wide enough to absorb the damage. That cushion no longer exists. In cities like Phoenix, Tampa, Charlotte, and parts of Texas, home prices rose faster than rents, insurance climbed faster than wages, and interest rates turned even average duplexes into expensive liabilities. What used to cash flow with room to breathe now barely survives with perfect conditions. That is the difference. House hacking in 2026 is no longer a beginner wealth strategy. It is a thin-margin operating business pretending to be passive income. And that distinction is exactly where most people get trapped. Online, house hacking is still marketed like a cheat code. In real life, it behaves more like leveraged small business ownership, with tenants, maintenance, legal exposure, and operational stress. A 31-year-old teacher in Tampa buys a triplex, believing she will live nearly free. Then one tenant leaves, another complains about plumbing, insurance renews 28% higher, and suddenly the free housing strategy becomes a monthly cash drain. This is the hidden problem. House hacking only looked easy when the economy absorbed your mistakes. In 2026, you absorb them personally. That changes everything. It changes risk, it changes stress, it changes the kind of person this strategy now works for. Because today, success depends less on buying a property and more on running it efficiently under pressure. Screening tenants well, pricing correctly, holding reserves, managing repairs fast, understanding local regulation, treating the property like a business, not a lifestyle hack. And most first-time buyers are not prepared for that. They are not buying an asset. They are buying responsibility disguised as financial freedom. If you are still treating house hacking like passive income, you are already behind. In 2026, the people who still win with it are not lucky. They are operationally sharp, emotionally disciplined, and financially liquid enough to survive the volatility most beginners underestimate.
That does not mean real estate is dead. It means the fantasy is, and that distinction matters. House hacking in 2026 is not useless. It is just no longer the easy, beginner-friendly wealth shortcut it was sold as for years. It can still work, but only for a narrower type of buyer with stronger reserves, better systems, and much lower emotional expectations. That is the real shift most Americans have not accepted yet. The strategy did not disappear, it professionalized. What used to reward enthusiasm now rewards discipline. What used to forgive inexperience now punishes it fast, and that changes who should even consider doing it. If your goal is cheap living, flexibility, and financial breathing room, there may now be safer ways to get there. Renting below your means, increasing income, buying later with stronger reserves, investing passively, building liquidity first. Those options are less exciting, less marketable, and far less glamorous online. But in 2026, they are often financially stronger than forcing a fragile real estate deal just to feel productive. That is the deeper psychology here. Many Americans are not buying house hacks because the numbers are great. They are buying them because the strategy feels intelligent. It feels ambitious. It feels like progress. But looking financially smart and being financially secure are no longer the same thing. In this market, they are often opposites. And that is why house hacking feels dead to so many people now. Not because the concept stopped working, but because the illusion stopped surviving contact with reality. The easy spread is gone. The passive myth is gone. The beginner margin is gone. What remains is a real estate strategy that can still build wealth, but only when treated like what it actually is, a leveraged operating business with housing attached. That is a very different thing than what social media sold people. If this changed how you think about house hacking, like, subscribe, and follow DollarNeck for more real-world money breakdowns, smarter financial psychology, and honest wealth strategy built for normal Americans trying to make better decisions in a much less forgiving economy.